I have been actually working in the field of architecture, both in product design, for 11 years now. I hold a master's degree in architecture, and I was working in this field before I started or decided to dedicate myself to user experience and product design, what I do now. Currently, I'm with Five, working as a senior product designer here in Zagreb. But I actually come from Sarajevo. And I work and I try to build their vibrant and positive design community because it feels very important to me. It feels very important to me because I had experienced in some way a career shift. And sharing positive thoughts, ideas, and having someone to share a couple of tips on the go, it can help you a lot to become and grow as a designer or a developer. But while making this shift, I actually come to a conclusion that product design and architecture are much alike than different. They have many similarities, and some of them are actually that both of them are interdisciplinary. Both of them are standardized, and both of them recognize the research as a foundation for all further design activities. And both of the disciplines actually work with some kind of design systems. Both of them are human-centered. And finally, both of them explore the notion of context and environment. And what does context actually mean, and what does it have to do with our apps and websites? It means a lot, because understanding the general context can give us a clearer perspective on what is actually happening between our solution and users beyond just the interface. And in terms of product design and different contexts that our users can face and our products could be within, we can recognize spatial, technological, physiological, physical, social, and context of market and business. And all of these contexts, if they are not addressed properly, each of them can facilitate or witness real-time anxiety and insecurity for our users. So we come to anxiety. Anxiety, according to Cambridge Dictionary, is an uncomfortable feeling of worry about something that might happen in the future. And in terms of product design, anxiety could be chronical or diagnosed, or it could be something that is happening temporary. And chronical anxiety is usually some kind of consequence of disability. There are actually more than 1 billion people who are living with some kind of disability in our world, which makes 15% of our entire world population. And not to mention the elderly people who actually can also feel some form of impairment, or actually they need a lot of more attention. They are an additional 8.5% of our entire world population. So how does living with disability looks like? Well, disabilities can come in many forms, and some of them are actually related to vision and disabilities of being able to see clearly, such as dyslexia. Here is a great simulation by Victor Vindel, and you can find this repo on GitHub with his name, Gion. Also, disability could be related to deafness and an ability to hear things clearly. But sometimes we do tend to forget some of the key things that we need to address in our designs. And we design and forget to address accessibility in terms of color and create low contrast in UI. Because of this huge trend and rise of JavaScript frameworks, we forget to use semantic markup for our projects, and thus disabling accessibility in our web apps. And maybe we forget to define and to implement different states and scenarios for call to action and UX patterns and elements. But building for accessibility is not that hard. Actually, there are many cool examples on displaying how actually we can facilitate and design for more inclusion and with accessibility in mind. Such of these example is this app, If This Then That, which basically works or creates some small functions or interlinks different functions from different apps within your system and creates applets. So applet can feel like our user has only did one thing instead of series of complex tasks. Of course, there is this entire trend of designing the dark modes. But this actual trend has its root deep in accessibility because it tackles the idea of contrast and better opportunity to consume content in different environments and contexts. And of course, we have different accessible systems and web browsers, which enables users to adapt to different font size, to be able to read or to use the keyboards as a navigation or a different text-speech recognition. And to me, maybe one of the most interesting examples for building for inclusivity and for accessibility is Lyft. Lyft is actually a service that enables drivers who are deaf or hard to hear to take part in a society and in community and to be employed as drivers. On the other hand, they raise awareness and inform the people who are users they're going to drive on how to discuss and to talk with people who are hard to hear or deaf. And there are many resources and initiatives which address this issue of accessibility, such as Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.0, or even A11i project, or even Google has their Impact Challenge Fund, and they actually reward projects and products which tackle the issue of accessibility. On the other hand, accessibility or chronical anxiety can be also a mental condition. Anxiety as a mental condition is one of the 4 most widespread mental conditions in the world, along with depression and bipolar disorder. And there are 284 million people living with anxiety in the world today. In Croatia, 4.3% of all medical diagnoses were linked to some kind of medical condition. And almost 7% of all people who were hospitalized due to medical condition. And this is quite important information for us because we do need to focus on design for accessibility. And how does it feel to design, or how does it feel to be anxious? It actually feels like you have to pay attention to all of the buttons, elements, animated GIFs, and everything, because if you don't pay attention, something bad is going to happen. Or if a person who uses our product or app has a depression, and they're going to feel the world more darkly, and their sense for contrast and color is going to shift, to change to more grayish tones. And they're going to see our beautiful website from this conference like this. But there are a couple of key ideas that we could tackle and think through when we design with anxiety in mind. We could try to design motion consciously and intentionally. Not everything needs to be animated, even though it does look cool, right? We should always try to provide reassurance and confirmation, because people who are suffering from some kind of mental condition, they need to feel safe and they need to know that they are doing the right thing at that specific moment. We can try to design easy to complete and secure flows, because people who are suffering from anxiety, they actually feel everything that is a burden or an obstacle to them. And in this way, less is even more. On the other hand, temporary anxiety can have a social or emotional context. This is something that actually happens to all of us each day. I was just wondering how many of you had a discussion with their significant other or a sibling who should throw out the trash or wash the dishes. I know I did. And of course, we covered it like the grown-ups, right? It was a good conversation. It could also be that you are feeling bored while listening to some boring presentation on a conference, and I honestly hope that this one is not that. Or you could have a nagging boss who just annoys you. Even parents who are accepting or who are waiting for new babies to come, they do actually experience some kind of anxiety. Of course, temporary anxiety can have a spatial context. It could be that you are running late for some meeting and your train isn't coming. Or you could find yourself in a totally new, unknown city without Google Maps and internet. And by the way, we can say that Google Maps actually does solve a couple of spatial anxieties for us if we have internet. And you could go to hiking by yourself for the first time and not knowing what to do. But I don't want to make everything so gloomy for you, because there are ways and there are great examples of how different products did actually tackle the anxiety. One of those examples is Uber. Uber is interesting because they did kind of suffer for some kind of backlash from exactly this issue. And that was feeling insecure and the issue of their rights and experiences of not being safe. A couple of weeks ago, I went on a trip abroad and I was traveling alone. I was feeling this traveler's fever, which is good. But I also was feeling this huge anxiety because I knew that my loved ones were also feeling anxious, wondering what am I going to do, where am I, and what is happening with me. Uber solves it really nicely. They do have this security indication that you can always feel aware and secure, that all of their drivers are screened. And before your ride arrives, you get the notification about exact license plate, so you can be 100% sure and aware that you're entering the right car. The other project I want to showcase with you is a project we did here in 5, which is called Moonlite. Moonlite is not only a digital product, it's also a physical product, which actually helps parents to bond with their kids by using a projector, showcasing beautiful illustrations and being able to read beautiful bedtime stories. And everything regarding to this product is actually emotional. Parents want to bond with their kids, want to send some kind of message, want to encourage them, want to make them feel nice. And kids are super eager. They want to get their bedtime stories and they want to have attention from their parents. And it's completely normal for parents to feel anxious while they're setting up this entire hardware and setting up the story to begin. So how did we tackle the issue of parents feeling anxious while they're assembling the projector on their phone? So the Moonlite works that you have this part of physical projector you assemble with your phone. We tackle this issue by introducing 2 ways or 2 levels of onboarding. The first level of onboarding is a general onboarding that always displays after a first download or first usage of the app, and it explains what the app is about and how does it work. But the second level of onboarding is a level where users, parents, can always see before the story has started. This level of onboarding explains parents how to set up a projector in a step-by-step way just to make it more seamless and efficient. And lastly, the project I wanted to showcase with you is a PuppySpot project we also did here in 5. This project is very interesting because one of our key requirements for solving this and creating this idea was actually indeed solving the anxiety or leveraging anxiety for the future puppy owners. To give you a little bit of context, PuppySpot is an online service who sells pure-breed puppies to the future puppy owners. And in theory, even though like puppies could be sold after a first day they have been born, each puppy needs to grow for a couple of weeks with their original dog parents so they can be able to be adopted. And for the owners, or for the future owners for puppies, this is a very stressful moment. Because they usually, and I think like many of you who do have a dog, or puppy, they don't call themselves puppy owners. They feel themselves as a puppy parents. So waiting for a puppy for that couple of weeks feels like waiting for a new family member. And we solve this issue by providing an app or a solution with elaborate notification and live feed, which could always indicate the puppy owner about what is happening to their puppy. We also facilitated the features for future puppy owners to prepare for their puppy and to make everything ready for the arrival. And we also enabled and dedicated the basic milestones that puppy needs to achieve in order to be able to be adopted and to come to their home. So everything, this is great, but what can we actually do? Well, we can do research and implement the standards. Not just designers, we can both together, designers and developers. There are many resources and assets here, especially in the field of accessibility, we can start using now and implementing betterly. We can also empathize and try to understand our users. And I know that maybe this statement does look like maybe too vague or idealistic, but it is true. Because only by trying to research more and empathize more with our users, we can think beyond our deliverables, our code, our designs, and just try to think which problems or jobs to be done we need to solve and can solve for our users. But who is responsible for this? Well, everyone has their part. No matter if you are a business owner, or a designer, or a developer, we can always try to take one step back and understand what our users want, need, and feel. We can always ask for a designer to give us more clarification on a research what has been done, or we can share our research with developers or business owners and vice versa. Because at the end of the day, people rock, and we are all awesome. And we have this opportunity to make a change to our own and other people's lives daily by doing stuff that we love. Thank you very much.